mga kawawma, in this video, we will familiarize ourselves with the numbers that are perfect squares, and we will solve quadratic equations by extracting square roots. So first, i-familiarize natin ang sarili natin sa mga numbers that are perfect squares. So like 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, and so on and so forth. So dapat alam natin yung mga numbers na perfect squares at hindi perfect square dahil kakailanganin natin siya sa pag-solve ng quadratic equations by extracting the square roots. Alright. So, quadratic equations that can be written in the form x squared is equal to k can be solved by applying the following properties. First, if k is greater than 0, meaning mas mataas sa 0, then x squared is equal to k. It has two real solutions or roots. So, we will have x is equal to positive or negative square root of k. Second, if k is equal to 0, then x squared is equal to k, and it has two real solutions or roots, which is x is equal to 0. Third, if k is less than 0, ibig sabihin mas mababa daw sa 0, then x squared is equal to k, and it has no solutions or roots. Bakit? Because there is no real number when squared gives a negative number. So, wala tayong number na kapag in-squared natin, ang product ay negative. So, it has no solutions. Alright, how do we read this kind of expressions? So, the first expression is read as x is equal to the positive or negative square root of 36. That's how we read this. And then this expression is read as the square root of the square of the quantity x minus 5. So, dapat alam din natin kung paano sila binabahasa. Alright, how to extract square roots? Okay, since our given is a perfect square, we all know that 49 is a perfect square. So, medyo madali kapag ang number natin ay perfect square. Alright, so first, get the square root of both sides. So, we will have square root of x squared is equal to positive or negative square root of 49. So, next step, get the square root of x squared. So, we have x. And square root of 49, that will become 7. So, therefore, our solution is x is equal to positive or negative 7. Next, again, 169 is a perfect square. So, again, first step, get the square root of both sides. So, we will have square root of x squared is equal to positive or negative square root of 169. So, we will now have the square root of x squared, which is x, and then the square root of 169, which is 13. So, the solutions are x is equal to positive or negative 13. Now, what if the given is not a perfect square number? So, dapat alam natin kung paano gamitin ito. So, halimbawa, binigyan kayo ng given na ang number ay hindi perfect square. Paano natin i-extract yon? So, kagaya ni 18. Si 18 ay hindi perfect square. So, anong gagawin natin? Mag-isip ka ng factors ni 18 na merong number na perfect square. Okay? Kumuha ka ng factors ni 18 na may perfect square. Okay, let's have an example. So, I'm giving you a table para meron kayong reference. So, x squared is equal to 75. 75 is not a perfect square. Okay? So, first, get the square root of both sides. Kunin natin yung square root ng both sides. So, we will have square root of x squared is equal to square root of 75. So, ano yung mga factors ni 75 na kung saan merong perfect square? So, pwede nating i-factor ito gamit ang 25 times 3 because 25 is a perfect square, right? So, we will now have x is equal to positive or negative square root of 25 times 3. Okay. So, nagkaroon tayo ng 25 times 3 kasi hindi naman perfect square si 75. Now, let us now get the square root of the perfect square. So, yung kukunin lang natin na root ay yung number na perfect square. So, we will have x is equal to positive or negative square root of 25 times square root of 3. Alam naman natin na si 25 ay perfect square. So, we will have x is equal to positive or negative 5 square root of 3. So, naiwan pa rin si 3 kasi 3 is not a perfect square. Next, x squared is equal to 80. So, again, 80 is not a perfect square. So, get the square root of both sides. We have square root of x squared is equal to square root of 80. So, let us now find the factors of 80 na merong perfect square. So, again, we have 16 times 5. 16 is a perfect square. So, x is equal to positive or negative square root of 16 times 5. So, get the square root of the perfect square. Since 16 ay perfect square. So, x is equal to positive or negative square root of 16 times square root of 5. 16 is a perfect square. So, extract natin yon. We will have x is equal to positive or negative 4 square root of 5. So, si 5 nandun pa rin siya kasi 5 is not a perfect square. Okay. What if you were given this kind of example? Paano kapag ganito yung binigay na example? So, I have here 2 times the quantity of x minus 5 raised to 2 is equal to 32. So, first, we have to divide both sides by 2. So, i-divide natin both sides by 2 para makancel natin si 2. So, we will now have x minus 5 raised to 2 or the quantity of x minus 5 raised to 2 is equal to 16. Bakit naging 16? Kasi diba dinivide natin siya sa 2. So 32 divide 2, that is 16. Next, get the square root of both sides. So we will now have the square root of the square of the quantity of x minus 5 is equal to square root of 16. So we will now have x minus 5 is equal to positive or negative 4. So, since 4 may be positive or negative, therefore, we will have two equations. Okay? So, since ang nakalagay dito ay positive or negative 4, since pwede siyang positive daw or negative, therefore, magkakaroon tayo ng dalawang equations. So, the first equation is x minus 5 is equal to 4. So, we will solve for x. So, that will become x is equal to 4 plus 5. Therefore, x is equal to 9. This is our first root or solution. And then the second equation is x minus 5 is equal to negative 4. So, x is equal to negative 4 plus 5. So, we will have x is equal to 1. So, the roots or solution of the given quadratic equation is 9 and 1. Next, I have here 3 times the quantity of 4x minus 1 squared minus 1 is equal to 11. So, since meron tayong minus 1 dito, ilipat na muna natin siya. So, that will become 3 times the quantity of 4x minus 1 squared is equal to 12. So, 11 plus 1. Kaya naging 12 tayo. So, since meron tayong 3, para matanggal natin si 3, divide both sides by 3. So, makakancel na natin ngayon si 3. What's left is 4x minus 1 squared is equal to 4. Bakit naging 4? Kasi dinivide nga natin siya sa 3. So, 12 divide 3 is equal to 4. So get the square root of both sides. So we will now have the square root of the square of quantity 4x minus 1 is equal to the square root of 4. So we will have 4x minus 1 is equal to positive or negative 2. So again, since ang 2 natin ay pwede raw positive and negative, magkakaroon ulit tayo ng dalawang equation. So the first equation is 4x minus 1 is equal to 2 at yung isa naman mamaya ay 4x minus 1 is equal to negative 2. So laging ganon. So let's solve first the first equation. 4x minus 1 is equal to 2. So we have 4x is equal to 3. Why 3? Because 2, ililipat natin si 1, that will become positive. So 2 plus 1 is equal to 3. Next, divide both sides by 4. So makakancel si 4 dun sa x. And then we will have 3/4. And then, for our second equation, we have 4x minus 1 is equal to negative 2. So, ganun ulit, 4x is equal to negative 1. Bakit? Kasi negative 2, ililipat mo si negative 1. So, negative 2 plus 1, kaya naging negative 1. So, divide both sides by 4. So, we will now have x is equal to negative 1/4. Next, I have here the quantity of 2x minus 3 squared is equal to 18. So, get the square root of both sides. We have, so since wala naman tayong number outside the parenthesis, ibig sabihin, hindi na natin kailangang i-divide. So, ayan na siya. So, we will now have square root of 2x minus 3 squared is equal to square root of 18. So, yung 18 is not a perfect square. So, hanap tayo ng factors na merong perfect square kay 18. So, we have now 9 times 2. Si 9 ay perfect square. So, magiging 2x minus 3 is equal to positive or negative square root of 9 times square root of 2. Since again, si 9 ay perfect square, pwede na natin siyang ilabas. Magiging 2x minus 3 is equal to positive or negative 3 square root of 2. Ulitin ko, since positive at negative ito, ibig sabihin dalawang equations natin dito. So we will have 2x minus 3 is equal to 3 square root of 2. Yung una natin ay positive. So 2x is equal to 3. Ilipat natin si negative 3 plus copy nyo lang si 3 square root of 2. And then, we will have now x is equal to 3 plus 3 square root of 2 over 2. So, bakit naging x? Kasi, dinivide lang natin sila both sides by 2. On our second equation, we have 2x minus 3 is equal to negative naman ito. Negative 3 square root of 2. So, 2x is equal to 3. Lipat natin si negative 3. Minus 3 square root of 2. So, x is equal to 3 minus 3 square root of 2 over 2. So, again, divide lang natin both sides by 2. Okay. I have here 2 times the quantity of 5x plus 2 squared is equal to 64. So, first step, divide both sides by 2 since meron tayong 2 dito. So, para makancel natin si 2, so we now have 5x plus 2 squared or the quantity of 5x plus 2 squared is equal to 32 because 64 divided by 2 since nag-divide tayo both sides by 2. So, naging 32 na lang siya. And then, get the square root of both sides. So, we now have the square root of the square of quantity 5x plus 2 is equal to the square root of 32. So, we now have, get the factors of 32 na merong perfect square. So, since 16 times 2 is equal to 32 and 16 is a perfect square, so ito ang magagamit natin. So, we now have 5x plus 2 is equal to positive or negative square root of 16 times square root of 2. So, since si 16 ay perfect square, pwede natin siyang ilabas. Magkakaroon tayo ngayon ng 5x plus 2 is equal to positive or negative 4 square root of 2. So, ganun ulit. Since positive at negative siya, ibig sabihin, dalawang equations natin dyan. So, we have the first equation, 5x plus 2 is equal to positive 4 square root of 2. Solve for x. So, we will have 5x is equal to negative 2. Lipat natin si positive 2. And then, plus 4 square root of 2. So, divide both sides by 5. So, we will now have x is equal to negative 2 plus 4 square root of 2 over 5. On the other side, our second equation, negative naman. So, 5x plus 2 is equal to negative. Kanina, positive. Laging ganon, positive and negative. Negative 4 square root of 2. Solve for x, we have 5x is equal to negative 2. Lipat natin si positive 2. That will become negative 2. And then, minus 4 square root of 2. So, divide both sides by 5. We will come up with x is equal to negative 2 minus 4 square root of 2 over 5. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you learned something. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell button to our Wow Math channel. Just keep on watching.